Yo, what's going on, friends and family? Today, we're going to be talking about the new Overwatch hero, Orisa. Yeah, so Orisa is actually from the chassis of the OR-15 model of a robot that was teased when Doomfist attacked the airport and everything. That's actually part of her story if you guys want to watch that. We're going to be mainly going over her mechanics, but overall, yeah, fitting inside the world, how she looks aesthetically, her story and everything, I'm actually extremely intrigued. Now, Bastion, being as simple of a character as he is, was also very intriguing to the overall story of Overwatch. But Orisa is a brand new creation created by Effie O'Delly, if I'm saying that correctly. So a little girl who's a genius made this creation, so it's a brand new robot. You actually click the story, I think you can see how, yeah, age is 1 month. It's 1 month old. And how does this affect our gameplay? Well, the gameplay, half of it is sort of the story, the character themselves, the dialogue. So a lot of it is supposed to be sort of like this almost like clumsy kind of robot that's trying her best to protect everyone and everything, which is really awesome. And we're going to read into that story here. But let's first, you guys are probably mostly interested in those mechanics. So here's the fusion driver up here. We also have Fortify, which is pretty neat. And we're going to explain these abilities as we go through them. We have Halt, which is, it's good. Oh, baby. Oh, that's sexy, dude. That's sexy. I don't even think that's ultimate. Protective Barrier, and kind of Winston, kind of Reinhardt-y kind of combined there. And then we have Supercharger. Now, she is going to be a tank. Oh, Supercharger isn't very explanatory here, so we're going to explain this one first. I believe this might be an ultimate, but basically it's a damage boost of line of sight. So as long as they're in line of sight, everybody gets a damage boost. So, yep, this is the robot. She's the tank, but she actually has quite a lot of offensive stuff to her kit. So let's go and talk about it. Let's move down here, overview. So we have the fusion driver. Orisa's automatic projectile cannon delivers sustained damage, but it slows her movement while she fires it. So it seems like it's going to be a longer range, essentially D.Va. So if you like playing D.Va, but you kind of like, you know, sitting back and firing too and sieging down shields, which, I mean, D.Va can actually do that. She can do some pretty big damage to Reinhardt shields. Well, fusion driver is probably going to be a better version of that. Of course, you're going to not have as much mobility, but yeah, there's that for the gun. Difficulty says 2 stars here, which is probably because of her hard-to-use protective barrier as well as Halt. So anyways, Fortify is actually really awesome. It's kind of like a, I guess, just get out of jail free card. So Orisa's temporary reduces damage she takes, so she becomes a little bit tankier, which is awesome, and cannot be affected by action impairing effects. So if you see a Reinhardt ultimate, as soon as you hear the cue, boom, Fortify, you're good to go. In fact, that's what we saw up there with the Fortify. You can see she activates it, and it seems to last a pretty long time, and it seems to activate instantaneously. So let's see, it's boom, done, there it is, and that's just how it seems. We gotta play her to find out though. Okay, next up we have Halt. Orisa launches a graviton charge, which she can detonate, slowing nearby enemies and pulling them towards the explosion. So this is, I rewatched this over and over again. Halt. This looks awesome. Like, does it stop only when it hits a wall? Does Orisa, do you as the player choose when it detonates? Because if you choose when it detonates, that reminds me of a couple of weapons from Unreal Tournament, which this is very reminiscent of. Except you don't have to reshoot it, like Drogo's ball or whatever. And you see it specifically pulls them. We don't get to see the radius of this though, but it seems pretty good, dude. Like that radius is pretty decent. It seems like a normal, like almost ultimate graviton charge, but this is not going to be an ultimate. So what's the cooldown on this? How good is this going to be? How much damage does it do? It's not going to hold them for very long. You see, it simply just pulls them, but you could still probably do some really clutch plays. Now, if we can detonate this ourselves, then, you know, I could see people doing this over wells, or like the well in Helios, doing it over the well and pulling in a Roadhog. That sounds awesome. Now, we have the protective barrier, which is basically like a gimped Winston shield. As you can see, it starts to crack at 3 rockets. Now, I'm not sure how much damage that is, if that's more or less to Winston's shield. I was hoping for a stronger Winston shield, but directional. If that's what it is, I'll be happy, but it started cracking at 3. So I don't know if that's good, if it's bad. We'll have to see what that is. And now Supercharger comes out of nowhere. Kind of reminding me of some abilities from the Shaman in World of Warcraft, and it kind of actually looks like a totem. So interesting, it's just a damage boost, which is from a tank. A damage boost from a tank is weird. It's interesting, I guess. So there it is. Yeah, it doesn't apply. There's no CC. There's nothing. It just gives everyone damage. But if you think about it, see, it also applies it to Orisa. So what Orisa can do is halt everyone in place. Now remember, her fusion driver is long range. As you can see here, it's a long range focused attack, and then she can supercharge herself, and then she can shield everybody. So she's actually kind of like, she's a tank, dude. She's a tank with a cannon, and she can shoot people from far away. Do we have any long-range tanks? No, this is our first long-range tank that might potentially do some serious damage. We have Zarya that can shoot from afar, kind of. D.Va, no, D.Va doesn't work. Roadhog, if you hook tech, but you know, how long range is that? So Orisa being a long range tank, and we'll see how good her long range is, but still, the potential to actually shoot from a range is really awesome. I don't know if she's gonna be a main tank. You know, we got to see how good the barrier is. The fact that it's placed, I don't know. It could be really good, but she has Fortify. I think if she has high health and Fortify is off cooldown a lot, then that's gonna be pretty good. Now, it says she takes less damage, so I think overall that's good. Versus a heal, you gotta keep in mind, Roadhog and D.Va can fly away and heal up real quick, or she can shield, that's true. But Roadhog just takes, like, he can take a lot of damage, he can, and he can heal to that, but he gives a lot of ultimate. So the fact that she's just gonna have completely reduced damage is pretty okay. It's pretty okay. So she has reduced damage and she has protective barrier. So she's like, I don't know. She could be somewhere in between a side tank to a main tank, depends on probably who you use. I could see her and a Zarya being really good, but her and a Roadhog, is that enough? I don't know if she's gonna really replace Reinhardt. Reinhardt is still a staple. We'll see, maybe it depends on the map. Anyways, those are the abilities, that is the character, this is her design. I kind of like it, and I think the Ancora sort of, I think that was just sort of a project name, because she, well, literally has an anchor ability. And she's supposed to be, Orisa serves as the central anchor of her team. It defends her teammates from the front line with a protective barrier. She can attack from long range, fortify her own defenses, and launch graviton charges to slow and move enemies, and deploy a supercharger to boost the damage output of multiple allies at once. But you remember, it sits in place, okay? It sits in place. So it's really probably more a defensive ability unless you're really aggressive, but since she has no mobility and her defense is also stationary, yeah, so she's more probably of a defense tank, but maybe if you can get somebody that can help you push, maybe like a Lucio speed boost you in, you might be able to get it into good position. So that's going to be the difficulty of her, is the positioning. So let's check out our story, guys. Let's do. I think a lot of people miss on the stories, and I really like this. So this is actually has me really intrigued. Now, at first, I wasn't really intrigued by her design or anything. I think you know, similarly with Bastion, it's like a super simple design. It's just a robot. Now this one's a little bit more colorful and a little bit more bubbly, which is cool. It's gonna be a counterpart to Bastion. Also, it's a reference to the character creator, which is Elfie. So, anyways, we're gonna read this, or Effie. So, your safety is my primary concern. Built from parts of one of Numbani's short-lived Orisa or OR-15 defense robots, Orisa is the city's newest protector, though she still has much to learn. And if you actually go watch the short, you can see that, you know, sometimes things don't go perfectly like butter. So anyways, originally put into service before the Omnic crisis, the OR-14 or Idina line of security robots, which was destroyed by Doomfist in the attack, was built in Nigeria's massive manufacturing Omnium. Okay. After the war, they were taken out of production, along with many of the other models used during the crisis. 20 years later, Numbani revived and recommissioned the OR-14 program to protect the city from external threats. So now they became OR-15s, and they were deployed for just a short time before they were destroyed in an attack by Doomfist, which is the new map, Numbani's new updated map. So following the attack, the program was scrapped and the civic government sold off the remaining OR-15 inventory. Some parts were purchased by 11-year-old Effie Oladelli. I think it's Oladelli, or it could be Oladell, a brilliant girl whose early accomplishments in robotics and artificial intelligence had already earned her the ADOI Foundation's Genius Grant. Sorry, I'm ignorant. And with the approval of her understanding and open-minded parents, Effie spent the bulk of her grant money to acquire one of the decommissioned Oris bots. She believed that Numbani needed a protector and that an upgraded Oris could do just that. Effie repaired and reconfigured the robot and installed a personality core that she had designed herself, that's kind of key there. She named Numbani's newest hero Orisa. Orisa has shown that she can be a service to the city, but she's still working toward finding her optimal protocols. This is where we're getting into really what I want to talk about here. The Omnic's inexperience can cause her to be occasionally a liability. Fortunately, between Effie's willingness to make the necessary modifications and Orisa's adaptive artificial intelligence, both robot and creator have always been able to set things right. As Orisa starts her career as a guardian, she has much to learn about the world and her functionality, but as long as she's guided by Effie's boundless optimism and her own growing sense of honor and duty, Orisa stands ready to protect Numbani and her creator at any cost. But here's the thing, guys, that I think is brilliant. I think it's brilliant. So the story of Overwatch so far has been incredibly vague, and the morality of Overwatch has very specifically been curated to be vague. You know, who's really the bad guys here? Especially when you play the game and you kind of see both sides, the world is sort of becoming, like, the more we learn about the world, really, we're getting more questions, actually, as the world expands upon us. So now we have this, what I think, now, this is Ancora, okay? This is the anchor. Now, not just mechanically is she supposed to be an anchor to any team, I think also in terms of the story, she might actually serve as an anchor point for morality. She's a brand new robot whose creator is also a child who specifically designed and created a unique personality for this robot. So their morality is really, I mean, they're trying to do their best, but I think they're going to come into some situations that is going to put into question certain protocols. Now, also, they've made it very specific that this robot is not perfect, and she is learning just like a child would, just like a human would. So her, Orisa, and her creator are going to be, well, I mean, going through the motions, going through the events of Overwatch, the story, as we, the players, are going to, and they are going to experience it just like us, and things are going to unfold, and it probably help elucidate both sides of the story for us through this character. We're going to see maybe there's going to be some conflict in Orisa. Maybe Orisa is, you know, maybe she's going to decide the best way to save, you know, everybody is to kill all Omnics or something like that. Or you know, or some back and forth, you know, she's going to do something bad here, seemingly bad here, but it ends up being for the better, greater good, or, you know, something like, there's definitely going to be some vague morality stuff with Overwatch, because so far that's what we've been presented. The very first trailer was good guys, bad guys, but then every single thing after that has been nothing but vague and expanding on the world as a whole. Like, what is going on in Overwatch? You know, it's kind of, we've been in Overwatch for a long time now. We still have no fucking idea what's going on, and yet I am still excited as hell. And this new character with her personality, because that's what this game is all about. It's all about the characters and their personality and how they fit into the world. With this new character, it has me teased even more, man. I can't wait to see some new movie clips and everything, and you guys should really check out the animated short for it. Well, it's not really, I mean, it's like a little comic thing. So you guys read the comics if you haven't read it. And anyways, as soon as possible, jump into the game and let's play some Orisa. If you want to play with me, my name is Skylent number 1753. Hopefully you guys had fun with the video. Hope you guys have fun in Overwatch. My name's Skylent, and I'll see you in the next one.